This is a steal for the Pittsburgh Penguins, as multiple insiders are reporting that the Penguins are actively trying to acquire a former Stanley Cup champion to add to the blue line, and we're going to break down who this is and why this would be an absolutely fantastic move for this Penguins roster. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your Pittsburgh Penguins, be sure to go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this is the place to be for all your daily Pittsburgh Penguins content. But Mark, let's get right into it. Multiple insiders are reporting that the Pittsburgh Penguins are linked to a former Stanley Cup champion, and who that is Nic Hague from the Vegas Golden Knights. And I had the opportunity personally to watch this player through junior, and obviously he's won a Stanley Cup in Vegas, so this should be a good one. And it is the Canadians and the Pittsburgh Penguins who are interested in this player. And not only that, David Pagnotta is also reporting that Vegas is in fact shopping this player. Like, they are actively trying to move this player, and he is an RFA. That is something to keep in mind. We'll get into some contract projections in a little bit, but how do you feel about this player specifically? Before I throw it over to you, I will say in this article, the Habs fanatics were speculating that the return for the Habs, if you were to go to the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, it would be Jayden Struble, a first or a third round pick. That would be the package. So a pretty hefty package. But again, if you're unfamiliar with Nic Hague, we'll get into it in a second. This is a guy who could be a difference maker, especially on this Penguins roster. So what do you make of this, first of all? And do you think the Penguins should go out and acquire another left shot defenseman?
I mean, the big thing is you're looking at this Penguins team that needs to add on their left side. This is a team where Dubas is going to try to revamp this defensive core, get them back into a contending spot, and you really need to fill out that left side. Hague brings a lot. He's a big body. He did score in the juniors. You could see a bigger offensive output, but in my mind, if you can get this guy for cheaper, if it's a B-level prospect and maybe a third, a fourth, whatever it's going to take, I think this is a good move. Vegas is in a cap crunch. They're not in the position to overpay for players. So this gives the Penguins and Kyle Dubas the perfect possibility to swoop in, get this guy for cheaper than he would cost on the open market. And I do think it's a win-win for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, through watching him through junior, his last season in junior, he scored 35 goals as a defenseman. A lot of those came on the power play. He has a wicked shot that I don't think he's really utilized at the NHL level. Like, it definitely would have translated if he were to use it more. But the thing for me, playing in Vegas, he's playing on the third pairing, and he won a Stanley Cup on the third pairing. He's not getting too much power play time, where I think that he definitely could on this team. Although, you know, you got Karlsson, you got Letang as well. But I think if you gave him an opportunity, he's another guy who can chip in. He's never really broken 5 goals in the NHL, but again, he's been playing a different role and has adapted very well to it. He won a Stanley Cup, and also he's a huge body. That's another thing to keep in mind too. This is a massive human being to have back there on the blue line. So if you were to add this player, he would make a difference in that way. And he doesn't shy away from the physical stuff for being a big body. He gets into fights, throws big hits in the playoffs. He's difficult to play against. So if he can also find that offensive game that he kind of left behind in junior, I feel like this could be a very dynamic player for this Pittsburgh Penguins team. And, you know, one thing that I brought up at the beginning is, you know, that he won a Stanley Cup, right? And that he has that experience and he knows what it takes to win. And obviously, a lot of people are kind of joking around about advanced analytics. And yes, we pay attention to advanced analytics here on the channel, Mark. And his are not great, especially from last season. They're not ideal, but you know, in the NHL, Mark, what are you trying to do? What's the ultimate goal, and what are the Pittsburgh Penguins trying to get back to doing?
I mean, if you ask Tristan Jarry, it's saving the first shot on goal each game. But the biggest thing is every player wants to win the Stanley Cup. Organizations want to win a Stanley Cup. Hague brings it. This is the team that wants to hoist another Stanley Cup with Crosby on the roster. Bringing in this experience is very underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a guy who's been there, done that. He also has one of the best clips after winning a Stanley Cup, where he's just absolutely losing his mind on the bus at the parade. So that's something as well. But he brings that winning pedigree, right? And Vegas has always kind of been in the mix when he's been in the NHL. And again, if he can find that offensive side of his game, I think it can make a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, the advanced analytics not great, but he is playing a third pairing kind of role with the Vegas Golden Knights. Not too many special team minutes as well. but I think that he could take on a larger role, and he's probably chomping at the bit to do that at the NHL level too, because he's kind of, adapted his game to playing for the Vegas Golden Knights, but I still think there's a lot more to his game at the NHL level that he hasn't shown yet that he can. And Penguins fans here, as you can see here, are feeling pretty good about the move too. Like, if it were to happen, I'm with the Nic Hague possibility. Think about it, and then he names a couple prospects like Owen Pickering as well, that it would be good for them as well. And Hague is only 26 as well. Like, this is not an older player, a guy who's on the brink of retirement either. And he's huge, right? Like, he's a big player that is hard to play against. So I think that it could be something that, if you have to give up a second or third round pick, I think it's something that you do. And he would be good for the younger group of guys. And again, doesn't shy away from the physicality, all that stuff. Now, let's get into the contract stuff, Mark. Wanted to touch on this as well. He's coming off of a contract this year. He is an RFA at this point in time too, so he's going to be traded by the Vegas Golden Knights. Not going to hit the open market or anything like that. Team controlled 26-year-old left shot D. He's coming off of a about $2.3 million contract. And if you look at Scotia stat projections, and again, thank you to them, their models are absolutely unbelievable. The highest probability for him is about a $3.5 million contract. Now, do you think that's worth it to add to the Penguins lineup? Because like we touched on earlier in the video, when you look at the lineup, it's very bare on the left side. Besides, Ryan Graves, which isn't looking like the best signing, right? But if you push him further down the lineup, maybe it would. And Hague, maybe on that second pairing, could look a little bit better. But maybe even the first pairing at this point. I do really like Nic Hague and what I think he can bring to a team. But do you think a contract along those lines makes sense for the Pittsburgh Penguins at this point? Because they still have to go out and do some stuff in free agency as well.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. You're going with a low-risk, high-reward, in my opinion. If you want to pull the defensive pairings again, the big thing is on the right side, there's a lot of offensive defensemen. Karlsson's there, Letang's there. He is the perfect player to play next to him. If his offensive output doesn't even get that much better, you're getting a hard-nosed, physical defenseman that fits the mold. Erik Karlsson looked the best we've seen in years during the Four Nations, playing with a physical shutdown defenseman. Nic Hague fills this in. Now, obviously, it is a lesser extent as we haven't seen him jump into this top-line role yet, but there is the possibility this is the perfect partner for Erik Karlsson. His value goes up if you don't want to keep him, and his value goes up. It just makes it easier for Dubas to move off from this. So I think it's a very low risk, high reward at the end of the day, and I think Hague at this contract would be perfect in RFA. You bring him in, you might have to put an offer sheet. But if you want this done, we could see this happen before the draft happens.
Absolutely, and I think it is going to happen soon. I think a lot of teams want to have a lot of things kind of done before the draft rolls around so they can kind of make those decisions, and obviously free agency is coming right behind that as well. But a couple comparables to Nicholas Hague, to Nikita Zadorov, Dylan DeMello, like not a bad list if you look at the comparables there. So definitely not a bad list. And I, honestly, I watched this person play in junior, watched him play in the NHL level. I think that there is something, like I said, that has not been unlocked yet at the NHL level that I think is still there, and he hasn't been able to do it because of the team that he plays on. And that's no discredit to the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, they're doing fantastic stuff, but I feel like he's ready to take on a bigger role as well. If his offense that he knows how to use, especially at the junior level, can follow him now, because he's still relatively a young player as well, can follow him to Pittsburgh, I feel like that is a really good combination. And like you mentioned, I think it's a good idea to maybe pair him with Karlsson, because you do have some offense there in Nic Hague. We know what Erik Karlsson is, and Hague is a big defenseman that's hard to play against, and he's actually a pretty smooth skating defenseman as well for his size. Pretty, he's not the fastest, but pretty smooth skating as well, not too choppy. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Penguins end up doing, but this is flying out around there. I know the Montreal Canadiens are interested as well, but I think if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins, this player is available for that price. I think you definitely have to pull the trigger. Let us know down below, because we want to hear what you have to say in the comments about this move. I think it would be a smart move for the Pittsburgh Penguins, would accelerate things a little bit, but let us know in the comments what you feel. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.